Corey Sandhagen just absolutely dominated Deiveson Figueiredo, winning in the second round via TKO due to injury. And for a fighter who had it all to lose this weekend, Sandhagen just really turned up and delivered, so fair play to him. And in this video, we're going to be taking a look at 5 things we learned from this fight. So stick around to the end to see what's next for Sandhagen. Hello guys and welcome back to Alex on MMA. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you enjoyed the fights last night. This is kind of an instant reaction to the main event, Corey Sandhagen against Deiveson Figueiredo. And if you've not seen one of these videos before, 5 things we learned, we put up these 5 blank boxes, and as we go through the video, we reveal one thing at a time that we learned from this fight. And I know that the word dominated has been done to death with YouTube titles and thumbnails, but I don't think there's any better way of describing this performance. Sandhagen was never in any danger. And before we get to looking at the 5 things we learned, I'm just going to do a quick recap of the fight itself. And like I said, this is a fight where Sandhagen was never in any real danger. And against a former champion, albeit at flyweight, that is pretty surprising to see. I feel fairly vindicated in my pre-fight prediction video where I said that Sandhagen was just all wrong for Figueiredo, and that turned out to be the case. Sandhagen controlled the range from early on. Yes, he got taken down by Figueiredo, but was able to dominate from top position. Figueiredo just never really got going, but as you're about to see, I think that was more due to Sandhagen. Sandhagen just never allowed Figueiredo to get into this fight, and even though the fight was stopped after the second round due to an injury, this fight was only heading in one direction. Make no mistake about that. So let's get into the 5 things we learned, starting with the first thing, which is all about leg entanglements and leg attacks in MMA. Now, I do train jiu-jitsu, so I do have a lot of respect for that part of jiu-jitsu, but I just don't think it translates into MMA. I've not been convinced. I've watched the UFC, I've watched MMA for years and years now, and I have seen a handful of leg attacks being successful if you grab onto an ankle and you snatch it up really quickly, but I just think the risk far outweighs the reward when it comes to leg attacks, and that was evident in this fight. Figueiredo went for that heel hook. He just refused to let it go. He was being so persistent. And as a result of that, he was just eating shot after shot from Corey Sandhagen. He should have given up on this attack long before he did, and I think his persistence to it actually led to the finish and his demise in this fight. And look, when it comes to leg attacks in MMA, specifically with this fight, there are 2 ways that you can look at it, because yes, Figueiredo's undoing was his persistence on that heel hook, trying to get it, eating those punches from Corey Sandhagen from the top. However, the leg entanglement also led to Corey Sandhagen winning this fight. It was that 50-50 position where Corey Sandhagen was able to get back up to his feet, really putting pressure on Figueiredo's knees and his hips, and that was eventually what led to the finish. But overall, I just don't think leg attacks work in MMA. I think they're far too risky. You need to use both your hands around their ankle, around the heel, around the leg, and that obviously means that you're vulnerable to taking shots to the face. And please do let me know if you agree with this, but the first thing that we learned from this fight is that leg attacks don't work in MMA, and this is some great evidence for it. So moving on to the second thing that we learned in this fight, and this is one thing that really impressed me about Corey Sandhagen. And look, it was no secret that Corey Sandhagen is a technician in the octagon. We knew that before this fight. But his ability to control the range in this fight just seemed to be on another level. He knew that Deiveson Figueiredo wanted to get into range to unload that overhand right, a shot that he has so much success with. But Corey Sandhagen's leg kicks, and in particular his inside leg kicks, were an absolute key to victory in this fight. He'd never allowed Deiveson Figueiredo to get in there. Whenever he started to step into range, Sandhagen hit him with an inside leg kick, which is such a good weapon to disrupt a fighter's rhythm. The outside low kick is really good if you want to hit them hard, but the inside low kick, it just sends their leg out, off balances them, and Corey Sandhagen was able to land this a lot of times during that fight. It completely upset Deiveson Figueiredo's rhythm, which was probably one reason why he was so keen to go for the takedown, go for those leg entanglements, because he just couldn't get into range against Corey Sandhagen. There was one shot that he landed nicely in the first round, but other than that, he just didn't eat any shots. And when they were on the feet, Figueiredo was throwing shots, winging shots that were going nowhere near Corey Sandhagen, nowhere near to reaching the target, and that's because Sandhagen was able to use his range to keep Figueiredo at bay. He did that with his long lead hand, but particularly the leg kicks, and in particular the inside leg kick. I was so impressed. And the second thing that we learned from this fight is that Corey Sandhagen's leg kick, and in particular his inside leg kick, is one of his best weapons. And if you think about it, if it's the weapon that not only disrupts your opponent, but also keeps them out of range, against a fighter like Merab, these guys haven't fought yet. And Merab, he does his best work on the inside, closing that distance, going for takedowns. If Sandhagen's able to disrupt that, keep him at bay with an inside low kick, that could be a really interesting fight. But you're going to have to wait till the end of the video to see what I think's next for Corey Sandhagen. So let's move on to the third thing that we learned from this fight. And it turns out the odds makers were correct. Figueiredo was quite rightly a massive underdog heading into this, and he looked really poor, let's be completely honest. I don't know whether it was the age that's catching up with him, if Sandhagen was just so much better than him on the night, but Figueiredo just had no answers to what Sandhagen was offering. And I know it's very easy to credit Sandhagen to say why Figueiredo was so bad, but I just don't think he turned up. That resilience, that heart, that desire we normally see from Figueiredo seemed to be replaced by a guy who was a bit scared to risk things, who showed really questionable fight IQ and keeping hold of that heel hook, even though he was eating bombs. Really good ground and pound from Corey Sandhagen. Figueiredo just looked really, really bad tonight. I think that his age is catching up with him. He took that loss against Petr Yan where he looked much better than he did in this fight. But the guy's 37 years old and in one of the lower weight classes, so I do just think it's over for him. I think one of the best things that he could do now is maybe try 125 again, a contender fight in there, because he'd only need to win one fight realistically at flyweight to get another title shot against Pantoja, a fighter he's beaten before. But again, with those advancing years, it becomes that much harder to make the weight. So is this even doable at this stage for Figueiredo? But overall, I was very disappointed by Figueiredo's performance. That heel hook, keeping hold of that heel hook when you're eating bombs from the top makes no sense to me. He got a couple of takedowns that were really well timed, in fairness to him, but other than that, he was just outclassed everywhere. Sandhagen was reversing positions, chewing him up on the feet, as we mentioned about those inside low kicks, and it was just a poor day at the office for Deiveson Figueiredo. He did seem to get injured at the end, something happened to his knee, so I'm wishing him a speedy recovery when it comes to that. But really, Deiveson Figueiredo needs to have a long, hard think about what's next, because if he takes another loss at bantamweight, then that flyweight title shot is even further away. So the third thing that we learnt in this fight is that Figueiredo is definitely a fighter on the decline based on this performance. And if we're going to look at the flip side of that for the fourth thing that we learnt, Corey Sandhagen heading into this fight, he did an interview with ESPN, I believe. He said that he'd never felt more ready to be a title holder, a title contender than he did right now. And look, that's just talk. He needed to see the action in the octagon. And that was one of the best Corey Sandhagen performances I can remember, at least from recent memory. And this is a fighter, remember, who's coming off that loss to Umar Nurmagomedov. He's lost to TJ Dillashaw, Aljamain Sterling. The narrative around this guy being, which I help perpetuate as well, is that when he gets to the dance, when he gets to those elite level oppositions, he falls short. But in this fight, whether you call Deiveson Figueiredo elite level competition or not, Corey Sandhagen turned up the best version of himself and a complete mixed martial artist. We've already spoken about the range. He was able to dictate it on the feet. He got a takedown on Deiveson Figueiredo in the second round. Really well timed. He won the grappling exchanges. Even when Figueiredo was able to get him down, he reversed it. He actually threatened a heel hook of himself, and Bisping was losing it on the commentary. He actually said, "What are you doing, Sandhagen?" But he used that heel hook attempt to reverse the position, get back up to his feet, and put some work in on Deiveson Figueiredo. This was a really complete performance by Corey Sandhagen. And for as long as the fight lasted, he couldn't have done much more. I wish the fight had gone on longer because I love watching Corey Sandhagen when he's in that flow state. But he wasn't moving around so much in this fight. He wasn't doing so much of that lateral movement. He was being a bit more vindictive with his shots. Yes, keeping that range, but when he threw the shots, he landed a really nice uppercut. Again, that's something that I did predict in the pre-fight video. I know that Deiveson Figueiredo had that tendency to dip his head, and we know Corey Sandhagen goes for flying knees and he likes those kind of shots. Unfortunately, we didn't see it in this fight. But overall, the fourth thing that we learned, Corey Sandhagen is a legitimate title contender. If we didn't know it already, we definitely know it now. A complete performance, looked better than ever, and I cannot wait to see him out again. And that takes us very nicely to the fifth thing that we learnt in this fight. But before we talk about the fifth thing, if you are enjoying this video, please do subscribe to the channel, like this video, and comment below what impressed you most about Corey Sandhagen's performance. Do you think I'm overhyping him? Do you think it was more Figueiredo just doing a terrible job in there? Let me know. But the fifth thing that we learnt in this fight is what's next for Corey Sandhagen. And if it's up to Sandhagen, he gets the winner between Petr Yan and Sean O'Malley. That rematch is coming up very quickly, and Sandhagen's happy to sit out and wait for that. And look, the way that the division is currently, he's got quite a good shout to it, even if he is coming off the loss to Umar last time out. You've got to think Petr Yan has losses to both of the guys in this title fight, and it looks as though Umar Nurmagomedov's going to have to get another win before he's put right up there. So the bantamweight division is fairly open after this title fight, and it could be Corey Sandhagen's time to step up and face the winner. There's been talk for years and years about Sean O'Malley against Corey Sandhagen, how that would look on the feet, a real technical battle between two elite strikers. And like we said about the Merab fight, Merab's run through everyone. He seems to get it done. He's proven himself not just to be a cardio machine, but a winning machine. But could the techniques demonstrated by Corey Sandhagen about disrupting his rhythm and keeping him at range, could it give him some kind of advantage in this fight? That's what makes either of these matchups really fascinating. I cannot wait to see how it unfolds. But it is looking very likely that Corey Sandhagen gets the next title shot. Let me know if you guys agree with that or not. But anyway, that's it for this video. These are the 5 things that we learned from Corey Sandhagen versus Deiveson Figueiredo. All the focus next week is going to be on Belal Muhammad and JDM. I'm going to be doing a pre-fight breakdown on that fight. I'll take a look at other fights on the card, see what interests me. But yeah, comment below if there's any video specifically you want me to make on that card. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys later.